Here's the truth about weight loss. Most of us aren't lazy, we're just normal. And motivation comes and goes. Some days you're in beast mode, hitting the gym, meal prepping, feeling unstoppable. Other days, Netflix, snacks, wondering why the scale hates you. And that's fine. You don't need to be motivated every single day. You just need a system in place that keeps you moving forward when motivation dips. So in this video, I'm sharing the rules I'm following right now to lose 100 pounds day by day. These aren't internet hacks or borrowed advice. These are just actual rules that I'm testing, tweaking and sticking to. So let's start with calories. Back when I was doing keto and carnivore, I loosely tracked, mainly out of curiosity, but I wasn't trying to lose weight at the time, so calories didn't matter to me the same way. Eventually I could eyeball it, like a pound of beef meant this many calories, 100 grams of butter meant that many calories, but now I'm in an active fat loss mode and tracking hits completely differently. On the rice-based diet, which is currently what I'm doing now, it shocked me how fast things can add up. I currently eat 6 cups of rice a day, and that's 1,500 calories before I even add in lentils, juice, veggies, before any of them hits the plate. So rice feels so light and innocent, but the numbers don't lie. Once you actually see those numbers, you can't just unsee them. And just because you're eating healthy doesn't mean you're automatically eating low calorie. Snacking, hands down, is where I've sabotaged myself the most. And every lean person I've ever known, they don't snack, they eat their proper meals and they move on. Me, I'd say just a few spoons of Ben and Jerry's, until I've cleaned out the entire tub. Or I go in for a handful of nuts and then go back for another and another, and you get the picture. And sure, we all know that one genetic freak who can eat pizza, donuts, milkshakes, whatever they want and stay the same weight. And I'm not talking about them, they're like the gods walking among us. But for us mortals, snacking feels harmless and it adds up faster than even the cheap meals. And worse, it's rarely about hunger, it's about the boredom and the stress and just chasing that little dopamine hit you get from foods, Once you log it, you see all those innocent little snacks are often the difference between fat loss and fat gain. Cheat meals used to be my major downfall. Back in my early teens and 20s, I'd do this all the time. I'd be strict all week, the scale would be down, I'd feel good, then Friday night hits and suddenly it's pizza, ice cream, snacks upon snacks. And then Saturday morning I'd be 5 pounds heavier and completely unmotivated. So now here's the rule that I follow. If I cheat, I track it. There's no exceptions. There's no pretending it didn't happen. One high calorie meal might slow your progress for a couple of days, but it doesn't erase everything unless you let it spiral into a lost weekend. Logging it forces you to face reality. It's just one meal. It's not the end of the diet. Fasting is divisive. Some people love it, and for others it makes them feel awful. 18-6 works well for me right now, and that's basically 18 hours fasting and 6 hours eating. And 6 hours is plenty for me to fit in 2 big meals, which is basically how I used to eat on carnivore anyway. But go beyond 18 hours and my thyroid reminds me who's boss. I start feeling cold and drained, sometimes I get nauseous, and that's my body telling me it's enough. But still, within that 6 hour window, I eat enough food to feel good and not deprived. In the near future, I'll be looking whether I can shorten that to maybe 2 hours or even doing OMAD. That might be trickier on a high carb diet compared to carnivore, but I'll only know by testing it, right? And food quality is really important, but it hasn't been some sort of magic switch for me. I didn't just wake up with superhero energy just because I went plant-based, high carb, low fat, For me, it's about health first. I currently eat this way to bring down my iron levels and also take the pressure off my liver, my spine and my joints. The weight loss still comes down to calories in versus calories out. but the food quality affects hormones, the cravings, energy levels, and those things matter greatly for long-term success. For me, it's less about faster fat loss and more about making sure I don't wreck my health in the process. Something I've realised is maintenance and weight loss are two very different things altogether. In maintenance, you can afford flexibility. In weight loss, structure has to be much, much tighter. Even something like an extra veggie dish or half a litre of OJ can bump you up 500 calories higher. Suddenly you're not in a deficit anymore, you're in maintenance mode. And that's why rules have to be much stricter during your fat loss. You can't pretend you're in maintenance before you've even earned it. So since joining the gym after almost 2 years, I'm trying to find a balance between cardio and weights. How much of each should I do? That's the question. Right now I'm leaning more towards cardio. In my head, it's the number one engine for fat loss. It burns calories, revs up your metabolism, speeds things along. And the weights matter too, obviously, for muscle and strength, and I want those benefits as well. But let's be real, look at me, I'm big enough already, more than big enough. And the last thing I want to do is look any bigger. So for pure fat loss, cardio feels like the priority. Either way, my plan is to experiment until I find the sweet spot between the two. Let's talk about the scale. I weigh myself every single morning, and sometimes the swing is up or down by maybe 5 pounds overnight. And if I didn't know any better, that would totally mess with my head. But here's the truth, it's not fat. I mean, it's impossible to gain 5 pounds of fat overnight, or during the day, a 16-hour period. What you're seeing is just water weight. For me, mornings are usually the most accurate, right after using the bathroom. If I weigh myself in the evening, I can easily be a few pounds heavier just from the food and the water. That doesn't mean I got fat during the day, it just means I'm full of, food and water at the end of the day. So the rule is trust the trend, not the daily swing. So the bottom line, track your food, skip the snacks, log your cheats, move more and stop stressing over the scale. None of this is glamorous. They're not some one weird trick or clickbait hacks, but it works. And that's my system. The real trick is finding what works for you and sticking with it, even when the motivation dips. So stick around, like and follow along as I push towards this 100-pound weight loss goal. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.